Good afternoon, Facebook. I think it's afternoon. It's like noon-ish. How are you all doing today? This is totally impromptu, but needed to be done. As you guys know, I live fully on my intuition, and sometimes you just get on a live instead of announcing that you're gonna do it. So I do have my coffee, so we can still be Sunday morning coffee with Karen. I don't know who's gonna be able to come on, but whatever. So, first, I wanted to start out by thanking every single one of you who took time out of your day yesterday to message me a happy birthday. It was amazing. I had text messages, PMs, my wall, of course. It's the day that your notifications just blow up, and it was a beautiful, amazing, crazy day. I actually started the day by going skydiving. So I took myself, that was my husband's birthday present to me, was that he helped me fund it. My dad actually threw in some money too, and I went skydiving while my husband watched the three kids. So that was insane, and I'm definitely going to tell you guys about that. But what I wanted to talk about first was, since we do have the ability to see the memories on Facebook, I was going back through yesterday and looking at other birthdays and the way that I've celebrated. And it was really surreal to me to see from, like, I think I didn't join Facebook until after I was 20. So my first birthday memory on Facebook is my 21st birthday, and it's literally talking about what? Getting drunk, right? Okay, so that's like pretty normal that your 21st birthday, at least here in America, is going to be you celebrating by going bar hopping or something because you can legally drink. But my 22nd birthday, it was the same thing. Party, 23rd, party, 24th, party, 25th. I was actually in Oregon for that one, so that one was a little bit different. But 26th was a party, 27th was a party. Like, it was the same thing. Like, some sort of drinking event. My 25th birthday, like I said, we did do something awesome. We went to Portland, Oregon, the whole northwest coast, because I'm actually like standing in the ocean in the memory that popped up. And then my 28th, like 26th, 27th, 28th, I feel like there wasn't even anything posted. 2 years ago, hey Michael, how you doing? And then let's see, and then 2 years ago, so on my 29th birthday, I got to sign the petition for medical cannabis, so that was cool. But besides that, it was a very low-key day. And then last year, we were in Hawaii, which was, of course, amazing. Ryan and Leo and I went on a charter boat, and we saw dolphins, and we went swimming, and saw the backside of Kauai, so that was amazing. So after last year's birthday, I never thought that I was going to be able to top it this year. There was just no way in a million years I was ever going to be able to top it. And yet, that is what I was somehow able to do from a whole different perspective by skydiving yesterday. So a little bit of backstory though with that, like, not only can you see year to year how you've changed by looking back at that, but you can sort of start remembering, like, what is it that you were normally doing. Okay, it's your birthday, you were celebrating in a certain way. For me, there was a lot of drinking involved, but that's because drinking was the thing that I did because I didn't really have a lot of money, and as long as you could pitch in a few dollars, you would have a whole night's worth of something to do. And I was super depressed, and I was, I never got as low as thinking that I was an alcoholic or having meetings or any of those things, but I also don't have what would be considered like an addictive personality. So, but I was definitely drinking a lot. I drank a lot, and I haven't been doing that very much in the last few years at all, especially not to get drunk. Like, it's not, the goal is not to be like throwing up by the end of the night, which for some reason is like a thing that people want to do. I don't remember. Like, I remember, but I was also really, like I said, really depressed. So it was almost like I deserve to feel this sick. So the fastest way that I know to feel disgusting is to get drunk. Like, just the thought process of like why we want to do that of itself is interesting. But I was also like I've kind of just been looking all summer as I've been getting close to my birthday to these different memories that are popping up on Facebook. And One of the ones that happened in the last week or so was hiking with a friend. And I remember when I used to hate hiking. I live in Utah next to some really gorgeous mountains, but I hated hiking. I was so scared of hiking. I was always afraid I was going to twist my ankle. I was afraid I was going to, um, slip somehow and I was going to get hurt and I was going to be left up on the mountain, or my cell phone was going to die, or I was going to fall. Like, some of the areas there's like pretty thin path and you have to just like remember to stay leaning up against the mountain, but I would get so scared. I remember other friends, like, I would literally wait for half an hour or longer. um what is happening? Working? No. Okay, okay, there we go. Do you guys ever do that when you're live and all of a sudden you realize that you're like so off and behind, you know that there's like connection error? Sorry about that. I would wait for like a half an hour, and like as long as I had my phone, I didn't care. While my friends that I was hiking with would keep going further, or I would stay at the bottom of the waterfall while my friends went and hiked to the very top of it because I was too scared. So if you ever got me to go hiking, I was very likely not. I was probably complaining. I was probably scared. I was probably hot. I didn't like to go. I would have friends that are like, "Come on, let's go hiking." I'd be like, "You guys can come to my house on the way back down or the way back on the way up. Like, come get stoned first." But there's no fucking way I'm going hiking with you, because I was that terrified and I was that in my victim constantly, just constantly too afraid to even live. Like, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2009, and I spent from 2009 until pretty much 2016 using it as my excuse to not live. Oh, well, if I do this, then tomorrow I'm going to be hurting. Oh, I have pain. Oh, I have this. Oh, I've got that. Oh, I can't take painkillers. Oh, like literally a billion and five just like different excuses. And then learning the psychology of fibromyalgia, knowing that fibromyalgia is the physicalization of PTSD and emotional trauma, it made a lot of sense. I always lived in that victim world and always made excuses why I couldn't do things. So for it to physicalize, it usually takes years and years and years. For me to be 20 years old and diagnosed with fibromyalgia was like, the fuck is wrong with this girl? Like, I had the body of a 65-year-old by the time I was 20. Degenerative arthritis, um, just really no will to live, really, because I was in so much physical pain. And they had no, like, fibromyalgia is a diagnosis of misdiagnosis. So even as I started feeling better, even if I was able to go without painkillers because I was using cannabis, I still never exerted myself out of fear that I would go too hard and I would get hurt. Like, the next day I would be paying for it, essentially. So I would just not do things to keep myself comfortable. So fast forward, and we can go to, like, even last year when we were in Hawaii, there were a couple of spots where there were overlooks or views, or we took a tour bus one of the days, and it was pretty scary and intense to be like hanging over the edge of some of these mountain roads. And that, yet this year when I was going skydiving, I was so calm. What are you doing, dude? No. Alex, what are you doing? Okay, I'm doing a live stream, so you have to be quiet, okay? Um, so sorry, the kid coming out all of a sudden like threw off what I was talking about. Oh, okay. So last year, however, was like right at the beginning of a lot of changes for me. I came back from Hawaii and started a 12-week amazing transformation. When you guys see my post where I'm talking about how I lost half my body weight in 12 weeks, like the trip to Hawaii is my marker, because right before that trip, I bought new clothes for the first time, and they were all larges, extra larges, 12, 14s, just like what I had always bought. This is brand new. I bought it 2 days ago. It's a small. The medium was too big. Like, the medium was a little bit longer, but it was obviously too large. That's insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me. My friend tagged me in a picture of me signing the medical cannabis petition 2 years ago, and the picture doesn't even, like, I know it's me, but if you were to put my face up right now up to that picture, you'd be like, that's the same person? Really? I don't, like, that's insane. So physical transformation for me has been the side effect. It hasn't been what I've been focusing on, right? For me, the focus has been more worthiness of my dreams. I've always had a really big imagination, and I've also always surrounded myself with people who are like, be realistic. You need to be realistic. You need to, that's unrealistic for you to want to do that. You want to be the massage therapist for the stars? How about you just get some clients around town? Oh, you want to launch your coaching business at 5 figures? How about you start at $1,000 like the rest of us had to, or $800 or whatever, right? Um, and I've realized over the last year that the more you tell yourself what's real, what this has to be the realistic approach, that's what kept me on the ground for all these years. That's what kept me in my house instead of hiking. Be realistic, Karen. If you go on a hike, you're going to be hurting tomorrow. Instead of, you know what, maybe a hike would be really good for me. I'd get stretching, I'd get out in nature, my friends want to see me, then I wouldn't be so depressed. Like, no, I stayed as a realist, stayed, okay, well, if you go hiking, this could happen and this could happen. Because all those things are real scenarios that could happen. But realistically, honestly, how likely am I to slip and fall with a whole group of friends and be completely abandoned on the side of a mountain? Not very likely, and yet that was what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, can you go back inside now?
No, I want to.
Go play over there.
I want to.
No, honey, I'm doing a live stream. I asked you to give me space out here. You unlocked a door to get out here. If a door is locked, that usually means that the person doesn't want you in the area. So you can go play, but please give me space, okay?
I'm going to ride a bike.
Okay, well, it's really hot and you're naked, so be careful. He says he wants to go ride a bike, and he's literally butt naked right now. So why would you guys care about me talking about hiking? And why am I not talking about skydiving yet? Because it is so important for you to understand the background of where I have come from and why I have the authority to teach what I teach. When I talk about living a dialed in life, what I mean is dialing into what it is that brings you the most joy, even if it's not realistic, even if it doesn't make any sense at all. Yes, my love, what can I do for you?
I think that my helmet isn't there.
Okay, then go get it. Really? That's fine, dude. Sorry, I have like an itch. So, living dialed in really means, what is it that brings you the most joy? What is it that brings you the most pleasure to your senses, okay? This is something that I've been getting a lot of questions about, so I'm just going to answer it right here as we're going into a new school year. For me, it's the end of birthday season within the next month. Like, my oldest will turn 11, and then we'll have like a good chunk of time before birthdays start again. So for me, this kind of is a new year.
I do want to listen now his face.
Okay, Alex, can you please go inside? You have disrupted my video 5 times now. Yes, everyone can see you. There's not even anyone watching, so can you please just go inside?
I just want to look at the moon.
It's the middle of the day. We can't use the telescope. Go inside, please. Go figure out what you want to have for lunch. I'll be in a few minutes. Okay.
Boy.
So when you're living, you have to let things like that is the perfect example. How many moms who might watch this later would have a really hard time with their toddler, their 4-year-old, continuously interrupting themselves? Now, you see me on camera, and you guys are probably like, oh, she's just being that way because we're recording. No, that's how I react. Like, that's me having to take a deep breath like that is about as mad as I get these days. When 2 years ago, anyone who came over to my house knew that I was a yeller. My neighbors knew that I was a yeller. Anyone who came over just expected me to yell and scream, and it was the most effective way. You know, at least they listen, because that was my end goal. My end goal was them listening to me. I didn't give a shit about if they understood why. I didn't care if they had any, it's better that they fear me than at least that makes them respect me. Just all of the old beliefs, because I didn't understand how the brain worked. I didn't understand how child development worked, or any of those things that I now have. I consider myself an expert on because I have immersed myself in there, and it just clicked super easy. Each one of you is an expert in some area that I surely am not, and it's because that clicked for you, and you could just read one thing, and all of a sudden it's like, and you were excelling and going super fast, while other people around you were like, I don't understand what's going on. That is what, again, living dialed in allows you to do. The difference is that most people dial into that one area, and then every other area of their life falls apart. So for me, I was super dialed in on how to be a massage therapist. Massage therapy, anatomy, all that stuff makes perfect sense to me. But actual, like, human relations, that didn't make sense to me. Math, I don't maths, not very well at least. Um, what other things? Like even self worth or body image or any of those things. Like I couldn't understand how women could walk around wearing certain clothes. I'd be like, you've got kids or this, that, and the other, health or eating healthy or any of these. They didn't make sense. So I had to work at that area of my life to the point where I am now wholly aligned. So each piece of my life fits into the next. I can't have standards that are this high in one area and then like be eating cheeseburgers all the time, right? So now the standard of the type of food I eat is at the same level as the type of services I provide. And that's as high as my parenting skills and all this stuff. It's we have this idea for some reason that we have to give up one area to excel in another area. And what I help teach is how to elevate your entire life wholly. So it's whole life alignment. And you do that by having joy and pleasure in your senses. Oh, so that's what I was going to be talking about. I had someone the other day post literally ask me if I was sexual with my children because she saw my post about how starting the day with a full body orgasm, that's the sensual motherhood life or something. And what I was talking about was, yeah, having sex with my husband. But I'm a mom and I'm constantly tuned in, tapped in, turned on to source energy in a way that allows me to kind of feel that way all the time. Now, it's not that I'm like over the moon, just had an orgasm when I get my kid to leave me alone, but I still have that buzzy feeling. Versus a lot of us, like, people get addicted to sex because they want to feel that way all the time. Or they get addicted to porn because they're just still just masturbating, having orgasms, going over the edge. People get addicted to food because that feeling that they get. So sensual motherhood really is that sense of pleasure all of the time. So that instead of when your kid finally listens to you, that you're like, oh, and you feel this big release, and you kind of all the feelings that you had, all the rage. Like, we're so scared of feelings in this country, especially, but really, this whole generation, we're scared of our feelings. So when we start feeling feelings, we get freaked out and we start screaming and yelling. And then, like, as soon as the situation is over, we go, and we're trying to get back to feeling nothing. We want to feel nothing all of the time. And yet we're constantly seeking other things like food or orgasms or drinking or whatever that helps us feel. It's this weird, crazy catch 22. And for me, that's not, it just didn't work. Like, I did that. I ate myself into, like, not obesity, but I definitely wasn't weighing 154 and at 6 feet tall, like closer to the 200 range, and could have kept going. But I had, I had my own body image issues because my parents are overweight. So I never allowed myself to do that. But then I was like starving myself to make sure that I didn't look that way. Like, borderline bulimia without ever throwing up because I would just like not eat for a few days and then I would eat a whole lot of food and then I would not eat and then I would eat a whole lot of food. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. So what the fuck does any of this have to do with skydiving? Because a year ago, if you would have told me that I was going to go skydiving, I would have laughed in everybody's face because of what I told you at the beginning about hiking. I couldn't even go on a hike. Okay, that I was that scared. I couldn't even go to the edge of the Space Needle. I was so scared. I couldn't go to the windows on like a 10-story building because I was that scared of heights. My husband jumped off the stratosphere like 6 years ago, and that was like hugely terrifying for me to witness him doing, let alone, like, there's no fucking way I would have actually ever done it. But this last year has just shown me how to tap into those senses in such a thrilling way that things don't, they're not scary anymore. Like, they're terrifying. Was I terrified as I went up in the plane? Yeah. But I'm going to post the video later, and I don't look terrified. I'm literally just like looking out the window. I don't think I'm even biting my nails. I think I'm just like, okay, we're going up. Like, here we go. I'm about to fucking jump out of an airplane. What the hell is going, like, even now telling you that that's what I did yesterday is like not a big deal, and yet I jumped out of an airplane yesterday. So the feeling of nothing that I now feel when you guys hear me say that I'm not feeling anything, it's that I don't really feel those negative emotions and things don't have as much power over me. It was just like another check off of my bucket list. It was super exciting. I would love to do it again, but it wasn't like, oh my god, you guys, I just jumped out of an airplane. Like, I landed, I drove home, I had a whole rest of my regular day. It was just like, just another thing that I did yesterday. So you start realizing that things, and especially when I was up there, how minuscule all of my problems really were from 13,000 feet. I think that that's what I realize the most. Because I'm jumping out of this airplane, I'm screaming like mad because he said that if you feel like you're not breathing, then scream because if you're screaming, you're breathing. And why not scream? I don't scream very often, and I was jumping out of an airplane. Could see the guy in front of me, the videographer was like upside down, and that was cool because like it makes you feel like more relief when you see this person in front of you with like he's just having a good old time with this thing on his head, the video camera on his head. And yeah, I could just see all these houses, and I could see like as we were like free falling was awesome, and then like they pull the parachute and they like let you take control of the parachute for a minute, and you're just like seeing as the world starts coming back into view how every single one of those people is probably thinking about something that's the end of the world to them because that's the type of society we live in now. And that all of a sudden my problems didn't seem so big from up there because there's this whole world to take care of. And how awesome would it be if I could get the whole world to get up in an airplane? How awesome would it be for me to help as many people as fast as possible learn to conquer their fears to the point where they can do something that they never thought in a million years they would do and be able to brush it off? Because that's where I've gotten to, and that's the whole point of everything that I've talked about for the last 20 minutes, going around spiraling in circles, trying to get this point across, this point right here, that when you live dialed in, you can do the thing that terrifies you the most in your life, and at the end of it, just brush it off, and it's another checklist item on your bucket list. Because you realize that when you are tapped into source energy, you can make anything happen. You can decide exactly how. I could have been the girl in front of me that was like, literally, I was half expecting her to be like, no, I'm not going. She did it. It was awesome. But like when we got to the ground, she was laying on the ground, like almost crying. You could tell that the experience had been totally different for her than it had been for me. You know, and it just depends on your perspective. How do you want that situation to turn out? How are you going to feel in your body when XYZ occurs? And that can even be negative things like receiving a bill in the mail. You can decide that receiving that bill in the mail, that notice for an overdraw on your account, is the most devastating thing, and that you are so stupid and how could you let that happen and oh my god, another bill. Or you could realize, okay, this is just me reminding myself that I still have lots of progress to make in my goals in money. And maybe I should use this as an opportunity to go take a budgeting class. Maybe I should use this as an opportunity to seek some help. Where can I cut some expenses? And no longer allow that bill to have that intense power over you. Or when your husband starts yelling at your kids and you've been doing all this mindset work and you're just like, I don't know what to do with him. How do I get him to do the parenting the way that I'm telling him? You don't have to. You get to just be like, okay, he's where he's at. I know who he is. I know how, what he is, and I know how he serves. And I'm just going to stay in my own lane. And I'm just going to remember that this is who I am, this is what I am, and this is how I serve. And if my kids only get raised with one parent that's super mindful and super aware of their connection, and the other is still pretty old school, at least they had one parent, and it's just, we put so much power into these external things. What if I had fallen off the cliff? What if this had happened? What if that? What if I had never been able to get off of the opioids? All of this stuff. And yet, each place in my life, I can see where I was no longer going to allow a certain part of my story to exist. I wasn't going to allow opioids to kill me. So I stopped taking opioids and spent 7 or 8 years using cannabis as my primary medicine for fibromyalgia until I got to the point where I wasn't going to allow that story to even control me anymore. And same thing with drinking. I was drinking all the time to get away from my life. And then eventually I was like, no, I'm going to be a major player in my life. I'm not going to allow life to happen to me. And then I had my first baby at home, and that was a whole new world of like, wow, I'm a very powerful person. And then I had my second baby unassisted at home, and that just changed the entire trajectory of my life because I really could see how powerful I was because there was no one around during that event. No one. My husband and my photographer, and then me. And each moment that I was like, I could never do that, I could never do that, I could never do that, I have now gone on and conquered it. And I've been doing that slowly. Again, like I said last year, no way. I was not going to jump out of an airplane. Even when I wanted to in November, all these things kept happening where it wasn't going, like I couldn't figure out a place to do it. And then it was super cold here for like several months. And then I could have done it at any point during the summer too. And I just never did and never did. And finally, as it got close to my birthday, and I was thinking, what do I want for my birthday this year? That was the only thing that I could think of, is I want to absolutely conquer my fear and jump out of a fucking airplane. And that's what I did. And I could only do that because I have dialed in so well to who and what I am that I knew it was going to be flawless. I knew that it was going to be amazing. I decided exactly what was going to happen. My instructor, I sort of got, I even like dreamed my instructor into existence, even though he obviously has existed, because he was super nice. He just like gave you this confidence as soon as you saw him, and yet he also didn't like, he had fucking dreads. Like he was just this awesome badass skydiver guy that like I couldn't have asked for a more relatable person. There were other skydive instructors, and to be honest, I'm glad that I didn't jump with any of them. I'm glad that I got the person. Not that I'm judging them, but it was just like I was looking at all the pairs of us when we were going up and just kind of laughing at how like perfect they had paired, even though it wasn't like, they obviously don't know, but I could see it. Like an older guy was jumping with that girl that was super scared, right? So he was able to give her more confidence. And this like super intense looking guy was with this other super intense looking like jumper, and it was just really cool how they were all paired together, and I just felt so confident in my instructor's hands. And 1, 2, 3, jump, here you go, and you're fucking skydiving, and there's not like you can't do anything anymore, and you're free falling. And at that point you get to decide, am I scared out of my mind, or am I going to enjoy it? And that is what life is. That is what I learned yesterday. Am I going to be scared out of my mind the next time a car breaks down and the money is not there? Am I going to be scared out of my mind when Oprah calls and wants me on Soul full Sundays, you know? Or am I going to just open my arms and be joyful and be grateful and be filled with pleasure and allow my senses to take over? You know, the feeling of the wind striking me in the face, the sound of air just like, because it's crazy how you can't hear anything while you're free falling, and then the second they pull the parachute, we're just like having a conversation and can hear each other perfectly, but we're still 5,000 feet above the fucking earth, right? So, all of this giant fucking long story to let you guys know that I am doing something that I have never, ever, ever done before, which is putting one of my courses on sale. So, one of my mentors told me never, ever put your stuff on sale. And that same mentor told me to always follow your intuition, even if it goes against what she's told you, as long as you know it's not in shadow. And that mentor has never gone skydiving, so I feel like I got a different perspective than she has. So my course, Checked Out to Dialed In, we begin on September 1st, and it is a 4-week course. It's self-led, as in you will get the content during the week, and then on Fridays we'll have a Q&A session. This course will eventually just be completely self-led and will be the prerequisite to any of my higher containers. It's where I teach you all the basics. So the Back to Basics boot camp that I've been posting about, that was just like the little launch event that I was doing for this awesome course. Back to Basics is still available for free for another week. So if you guys want that, let me know. Um, Messenger keeps stopping. Okay. And then, so Checked Out to Dialed In, it's on sale until Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, I will put it back to its normal price. So normally for the content for 4 weeks, the call once a week for 5, there will be 5 calls, and then Back to Basics is included in that actually. Normally that's 800, or sorry, normally that's 1,000, and it's only 800 right now. And then the VIP option is all those things I just said, plus you get 2 30-minute calls with me, and you get unlimited Voxer support, which is a walkie-talkie app, through the whole time. That is normally 2,500. It's 1,700 right now. My birthday's 8/17, so that's where those numbers came from, I guess. They also both include a month in my subscription group, so this is actually the last time you guys will see me live on Facebook regular